Hey, friend, before I start, please subscribe. 1 second for you, a huge deal for me. All right, let's talk about the day I almost lost my kids. My name is Ethan. I'm 41 years old now. When this story happened, I was 37, standing in a crowded courtroom that smelled like old paper and fear. The judge flipped through a thick stack of files with my name on them. Ethan Cole, single father, former alcoholic, former screw-up. In the front row sat my former mother-in-law, arms crossed, lips tight, staring at me like I was a wild dog that had wandered into a church. On the other side of the aisle sat my kids. Grace, 12 years old, in a blue hoodie she refused to take off, clutching her backpack straps like they were a parachute. Noah, 6, feet not even touching the floor, swinging his legs, hugging that stuffed dinosaur that had survived more laundry cycles than some marriages. And next to them, the woman who'd once been my wife. Lily. Her hair was pinned back like she was going to a job interview, not a custody hearing. No visible marks of the years she'd been gone. No sign of the nights I'd walked the apartment with a crying baby and no clue what I was doing. She looked at me once. Just once. Not with love, not even with hate, with something worse, like I was an obstacle. My lawyer leaned toward me. Final hearing, she whispered. This is it. You ready? Ready? No. But I was done running. The judge cleared his throat. Mr. Cole, Mrs. Cole, we are here today to determine what is in the best interest of the children. I exhaled slowly, because I knew something nobody else in that room did. 4 years earlier, I was the man they're all afraid of. Today, I wasn't. And this is the story of how I got from there to here. Before it all blew up, if you had met me at 33, you wouldn't have guessed I'd ever end up a single dad fighting for custody. I wasn't evil, just selfish. I worked maintenance at a downtown hotel in Dallas, fixing everything from jammed elevators to toilets guests attempted to murder. My uniform smelled like bleach and old carpet glue. My pockets were always full of screws, receipts, and excuses. Grace was 8 then. Noah was barely 3. Back then, I loved being the fun parent. You know the type. I'd show up late with milkshakes, promise movie nights I'd forget about, say we'll see when I meant no, and tomorrow when I meant never. I drank just to take the edge off, then to sleep. Then to get through the day I'd wrecked by drinking the night before. Lily did the work. She handled homework, doctor's visits, school forms, bills I didn't want to open. She knew the name of every teacher, every pediatric nurse, every medication dosage. I knew the name of the bartender who'd pour me a double even when I asked for a single. We weren't rich, but we were together. People looked at our Christmas card photos and thought we were solid. They didn't see Lily crying in the bathroom with the shower running so the kids wouldn't hear. They didn't see me sitting in the parking lot outside our building, finishing a beer so the smell wouldn't be too fresh when I came in. They didn't see the nights when Grace stayed up, reading just long enough to make sure I actually came home. I wasn't a monster, but I was killing my family in slow motion. The night she left. It was a Tuesday. That detail sticks with me for some reason. Tuesdays aren't supposed to be special. There's no holiday, no event. Just an ordinary day you think will blur into the rest of your life. I came home late. Again, smelling like stale beer and oven grease from the hotel kitchen where I'd grabbed a drink with the guys. The apartment was too quiet. No cartoons, no clatter of plates. No, Dad, guess what? Barreling toward the door. Just silence. On the kitchen table, next to a half-finished coloring page and a couple of broken crayons, sat a folded piece of paper. My name was on the outside, just Ethan, in her handwriting that had once written, I love you, on napkins and lunch notes. Inside, 6 sentences that knocked the air out of my lungs. I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of carrying all of us while you drown us. I need to get myself together before I disappear completely. The kids are with my mom tonight. Don't call me. Get help. I remember standing at the sink, reading those lines over and over while the fridge hummed behind me like it was waiting to see what I'd do. I had 2 thoughts in that moment. The first was, she overreacts. She'll come back. The second was quieter, uglier, truer. You did this. I didn't sleep that night. I stared at the ceiling on the couch, listening to the neighbor's TV through the wall. Some game show where people clapped and won vacations while my life quietly burned down. At 2:17 a.m., I finally did something I should have done years earlier. I picked up my phone, scrolled past the liquor store number I knew by heart, and typed in something else. Alcoholics Anonymous meeting near me. Rock bottom doesn't send a calendar invite. Movies make it seem dramatic. You smash a bottle. You drop to your knees. Rain pours just right. That's not how it went. My rock bottom was a stale coffee smell in a church basement 3 miles from our apartment, sitting in a plastic chair that dug into my thighs. A circle of strangers said their names and their vices like they were reading from a script they'd never wanted. Hi, I'm Tom, and I'm an alcoholic. Hi, I'm Rena, and I'm an alcoholic. Hey, I'm Ethan, and I guess I'm one too. I expected lightning, a voice from the sky, something. Instead, it was just quiet. A man 2 chairs over, maybe late 50s, with deep lines in his face and hands that looked like they'd worked hard and shook harder, nodded once like he'd been waiting for those words. After the meeting, he walked over, stuck out his hand. Name's Victor, he said. You got kids? Yeah, I answered. 2. He squeezed my hand harder than I liked. Then don't make them sit where we're sitting when they're your age, he said. You keep coming back. I nodded. Didn't promise. Didn't swear this time is different. I just came back. The call that changed everything. For 3 months, Lily stayed gone. The kids stayed with her mother, Darlene, in her small, overstuffed house that smelled like pot roast, lavender spray, and disapproval. I got supervised weekends. Darlene would stand in the doorway while Grace and Noah grabbed backpacks and hugs and stuffed animals. You smell okay, she'd sometimes mutter. Keep it that way. I went to meetings. I showed up to work, actually, on time. I lived in a 1-bedroom place with a leaky bathroom ceiling and a mattress on the floor. I sent child support on time even when it meant I ate cheap noodles for the last week of the month. I didn't drink. Some nights, my hands shook so badly I sat on them. Some nights, I walked circles in that tiny living room, telling myself out loud that everyone was better off with me alive and sober than dead and sorry. I didn't know if Lily was coming back. I didn't know if I wanted her to. But I knew I wanted to be someone my kids weren't ashamed of. 3 months and 11 days after she left, the phone rang at 5:32 a.m. Not a good sign. Ethan? It was Darlene. Her voice sounded like it had been dragged through gravel. You need to come, now. My heart stopped. What happened? The kids? They're fine, she said. For now, just get here. She hung up. My mind raced the whole drive. Car accident? Fire? You'd be amazed how many worst-case scenarios the human brain can draft in 15 minutes. When I pulled up to her house, the porch light was off, but the living room was bright. Noah stood at the window in dinosaur pajamas, thumb in his mouth, eyes big. Grace sat on the couch, arms wrapped around her legs, watching a cartoon she obviously wasn't really seeing. And in the recliner, head tilted back, an empty bottle on the side table. Lily. Her eyes were red. Her hair was a mess. She wore the same sweatshirt I'd seen her in the last day we were together. But the thing that hit me hardest wasn't the bottle. It was the way Grace flinched when her mother shifted in the chair. Darlene pulled me into the kitchen. She showed up last night, she whispered. Said she was ready to be a mom again. Then she hit half a bottle and passed out. The kids heard everything. My stomach twisted. You let her see them like that? I hissed. She bristled. She's my daughter, she shot back. And you're not exactly father of the year, Ethan. We both knew she wasn't wrong. But something had changed in me since that note on the table. I haven't had a drink in over 3 months, I said quietly. I got a place, a bed, food, space. I can take them today. Let her get herself together somewhere else. Darlene's eyes filled with tears. She tried to blink away. You? She scoffed, but there was a crack in it now. You're going to be full-time? Who else is standing here at 5 in the morning? I asked. Silence, then a small voice from the doorway. Dad? Grace. She looked at me like I was a test she wanted to believe she could pass. Are we going with you? She asked. I looked at Darlene. Darlene looked at the floor. Finally, she sighed. On one condition, she said. You mess this up even once. I go for custody, and I won't stop until you're a holiday on a calendar. I nodded. Fair, I answered. I walked into the living room, knelt in front of my kids. You want to come stay with me for a while? I asked. Noah nodded so hard his dinosaur flopped. Grace didn't smile. She just said, Do you have cereal? I swallowed. Yeah, I said. Might not be the good kind, but we'll fix that. Grace grabbed her backpack. Noah grabbed his dinosaur and a random sock. I grabbed their jackets and the weight of everything I'd broken. As I buckled them into the back seat of my dented car, Lily stirred briefly, mumbled something like my name, then went back under. She didn't open her eyes. I drove away with both kids and exactly zero idea what I was doing. But I drove away. Day 1. Fire drill. Single dad movies lie. They show you slow-motion montages to upbeat acoustic music. In real life, the soundtrack was an alarm I'd set for 6 a.m. that I slept through, followed by Grace shaking my shoulder at 6:43. School, she said, hair sticking up, voice flat. We have to be there by 7:30. Noah was already upside down on the couch, humming, his pajama shirt inside out. I had no routine, no system, just 2 kids, an empty fridge, and a brain that ran on panic. We were late, obviously. I drove like a man whose life depended on not spilling the last 20 drops of milk in a cup. Grace sat in the front seat because I hadn't yet fixed the booster in the back. Noah sang something about French fries to the tune of the alphabet. At a red light, Grace glanced sideways at me. Does your car always smell like this? She asked. Like what? I said. She shrugged. Like old coffee and worry. I huffed out something between a laugh and a cough. New air freshener, I said. I'll work on it. At school, the secretary gave me the look all new single parents get. It's not cruel. It's that mix of pity, skepticism, and silent math. Can you do this? Will you remember half days? Are you going to disappear? I filled out forms with shaking hands, emergency contacts, allergies. Mother, blank. I hesitated, then wrote N.A. lives separate. Father, Ethan Cole. Under who lives in the home, I wrote, me, Grace, Noah. Then I stopped. For the first time in my life, I was the adult on the line. On the way out, I accidentally bumped into a woman juggling a toddler, a laptop bag, and car keys. Sorry, I muttered. She smiled, quick, tired, real. No problem, she said. You new to the morning circus? Something like that, I replied. You'll figure it out, she added. Or you won't. The kids will tell you when you don't. I watched her strap her son into a car seat with one hand, coffee in the other. Part of me wanted to ask, how? The other part knew there wasn't a secret club. Just people doing what needed to be done. Learning to become someone I wasn't raised to be nights were harder. Days, I could fake it. School drop-offs, work, pickups, quick grocery runs with 2 arguments per aisle. But nights? No background noise, no meetings, no reason not to remember every stupid choice that had brought us here. The first night they stayed with me, Noah refused to sleep anywhere but directly on my chest. Grace slept with her backpack at the foot of the mattress on the floor, like she wasn't convinced she wouldn't need to leave fast. I lay there, staring at the cracked paint on the ceiling. Every tiny sound became a what if. What if I fail them? What if Darlene was right? What if I'm just pretending to be someone better and one bad day blows it? My sponsor, Victor, had told me something in that church basement. You don't fix 10 years in 10 days, he'd said. You just do the next right thing, over and over, until one day you realize your life isn't on fire anymore. Next right thing. At 2 a.m., it meant cleaning up the spilled juice without cursing. At 5 a.m., it meant packing lunches, even if it was just peanut butter and jelly with carrot sticks. At 3 p.m., it meant listening to Grace talk about a mean girl in her class without making jokes or minimizing it. At 11 p.m., it meant not texting Lily. The neighbor I didn't know I needed on day 4, I met Mr. Alvarez. He lived across the hall. I'd seen him in passing, pushing a grocery cart carrying a toolbox. Slender man in his late 60s, gray hair pulled back, wearing the same denim jacket every day. The kind of neighbor you nod at, but never really see. That afternoon, I was standing in the hallway trying to balance a bag of groceries, Noah on one hip, and a broken toy in my teeth. Grace was kicking the bottom of the door. "Dad, the key," she groaned. "The cereal is smashing my math notebook." I was sweating. One grocery bag ripped. Apples rolled down the hall like we'd lost marbles. Mr. Alvarez opened his door a crack, then wider. "Stop," he said in a voice that could have cut through concrete. We froze. He walked over, calm, as if this was a movie he'd watched a dozen times. "Chico," he said to me, "put the boy down before your arm falls off. Give the heavy bag to the tall one. Keys in your right pocket." I blinked. "How did you—" "You've lived here 8 months," he replied. "You always put your keys in the same place. Routine saves lives and groceries." He scooped 2 runaway apples with his foot and nudged them toward Noah, who giggled. "You got help?" he asked, nodding toward the open apartment door. I thought of my parents. My father, who'd told me, "You made your bed, now lie in it," when he heard Lily left my mother, who kept sending me Bible verses about the wages of sin. I thought of Darlene and her threat. Then I thought of the empty contact list under emergency. "No," I said, "not really." He sighed, like a man who'd already decided something before asking. "Okay," he said. "Then for now, Thursdays and Sundays, I knock at 6. I show you how to cook something that doesn't come from a box and doesn't poison the little one's deal." Grace raised an eyebrow at me. "Do you poison us now?" she asked. "Only a little," I answered. "We'll take the deal." Mr. Alvarez, Rafael, I later learned, turned out to be a retired paramedic widower, father of 2 grown daughters who didn't live nearby. He taught me how to roast chicken without burning it, how to stretch a pot of beans for 3 days, and how to tell the difference between "he bumped his head" and "we're going to urgent care now." He also taught me this. "Kids don't need a hero," he said one Sunday, stirring rice. "They need a baseline, someone who's just there, day in, day out. You want to impress them? Show up, keep showing up." I thought about all the times I hadn't. I put out the plates. 1, 2, 3. No beer on the table. One tiny victory at a time. Part 2. The year everything changed. Raphael kept his promise. Every Thursday and every Sunday at 6, he knocked on the door with the same rhythm. 2 light taps, one firm, "Open up, Chico," he'd say through the wood. "Your kitchen needs supervision." Grace would roll her eyes but secretly start setting plates. Noah would yell, "Rafa," like he was greeting a superhero. I wasn't used to stability. Stability felt like wearing borrowed clothes, comfortable eventually, but strange at first. But week by week, the edges of our life softened. Nothing perfect, nothing magical, just steady. The first big test. 6 weeks into being a full-time, unexpectedly solo parent, the school nurse called Noah had a fever. Not a go-home-and-rest fever, a come-now fever. I left work in the middle of fixing a broken elevator panel, sweat still on my back, tools still in my pocket. The school receptionist gave me the same look she always gave single parents: concern, judgment, a mental scorecard. I was sure I was failing. Noah lay on a little cot, cheeks flushed, eyes glossy. "Daddy," he whispered when he saw me. "My belly hurts." I scooped him up and kissed his hair. "We're going to figure it out," I said, trying not to panic. Raphael met us in the hallway without me calling him. "Heard him coughing through the wall last night," he said. "Let's get him checked." The clinic said it was strep. Fever spiked to 103 by bedtime. Grace hovered in the doorway, biting her nails, a habit she'd kicked years ago until now. "You okay?" I asked. She shrugged. "Yeah," she said, because kids always say they're fine when they're not. Raphael sat on the couch, teaching me how to cool him down safely. "Don't overdo the cold," he warned. "You shock the system, it fights harder." I didn't sleep that night. I sat beside Noah's little mattress with the lamp on low, counting breaths. Every sharp inhale felt like a fire alarm. Every whimper felt like a verdict. Around 3 a.m., my phone buzzed. A number I didn't recognize, but I knew it. Lily. Just her name on the screen made my chest tight. After a long minute, I stepped into the kitchen and answered. "What is it?" I whispered. She didn't say hello. "Darlene told me you have the kids living with you now," she said. "Full-time." "Yes." "You didn't think to involve me in that decision?" I leaned against the counter, closing my eyes. "You left," I said, voice low. "I didn't take them. You walked away." That was temporary. You didn't say temporary. Silence. Then she exhaled, fast, angry. I'm getting myself together, she said. I'll be ready soon. And I want them back. A knife somewhere in that sentence twisted. You want to see them? I corrected. We can talk about that, but you're not taking them. You can't make that decision, she snapped. You can barely manage yourself. Before I could respond, I heard Noah cough from the bedroom. Lily heard it too. Is that him? She whispered. Is he sick? Yes. What's wrong? Strep. She sucked in a breath. I should be there, she said. He needs his mother. He needs someone, I said. And right now, that's me. I expected her to yell, or cry, or hang up. Instead, she said something that stuck with me. Ethan, don't keep my kids away from me. They're our kids, I said quietly. But she'd already hung up. I stood in the kitchen, phone warm in my hand, heart pounding. For the first time since she walked out, I felt something new. Not anger, not grief, not fear, a line, a boundary. One I wasn't going to step back from. When everything started to crack, the next morning, after 3 hours of sleep, I got a text from Grace's school. Your daughter has forgotten her project due today. Of course she did, because I forgot to check her backpack last night, because I was up wiping fever sweat and whispering to a kid who kept asking if he was going to be okay. Because being two people at once is impossible. I walked Grace to school anyway. She didn't look at me the whole time. At the entrance, she stopped. You didn't remind me about my project, she said quietly. You'd think I'd snap, or defend myself, or lecture her. Instead, I crouched down so we were eye level. That's true, I said. I missed it. I'm learning. I'll do better. She blinked like she didn't expect that answer. I'm trying, I added. I know you are too. For a moment, the hardness in her face cracked. She nudged her forehead into my shoulder. Okay, she whispered. When she pulled away, she wiped her eyes in embarrassment and hurried inside. I stood there for a long minute. A man who once blamed everyone for everything, now apologizing to a 12-year-old because she deserved it. Raphael called while I walked back home. You look like you got hit by a bus, he said. I could hear him smiling. Noah's fever's down to 101, I said. That's good. You did right. You helped me. That's what neighbors do, he said. Or at least, it's what they should do. Then he lowered his voice. You hear from her? Yeah. She wants the kids? Yeah. You ready? No. That's why you're ready, he said. Men who think they're ready are the ones who fall apart. The paper that changed everything. 2 weeks later, a letter came. Not a text, not a voicemail. A certified letter taped shut like it was holding dynamite. Grace handed it to me after school. Some lady made me sign for it, she said, frowning. She asked if I was Grace Cole. I stared at the envelope like it was venom. Who's it from? She asked. Go inside, I said softly. She obeyed, which meant she knew it wasn't good. I waited until the kids were in their room, then sat at the kitchen table and opened it. A petition from Lily's attorney. She was suing for full custody, not shared, not temporary, full sole. Her lawyer wrote that the children had been unlawfully retained, that I had a history of instability, that Lily had regained sobriety, and that her mother's home was more accommodating. 2 pages of legal terms that translated to one thing. She wants to erase me. My hands shook, my throat tightened, my vision blurred. I dropped my forehead to the table and breathed so hard the wood warmed under me. Raphael knocked softly. I didn't answer. He opened the door anyway. Chico, he said, you dying in there? I slid the papers toward him. He read the first page, then the second. Then he looked at me, not with pity, with calculation. You're going to fight, he said, not a question. I can't afford a lawyer. You can't afford not to get one. I'm trying so hard. Raphael held up a hand. No speeches, he said. Just listen. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. You got sober, he said. You got stable. You're raising 2 good kids. Judges care about one thing, who shows up, and you show up. But Lily, she left, he interrupted. You didn't. I swallowed. I'm scared, I said. Good, he answered. Fear keeps you awake. And then Grace heard everything. I didn't know she was standing in the hallway. I didn't hear her footsteps. I only heard her voice, small, trembling, breaking in the middle. Is she taking us? I turned. She had both hands over her mouth like she was trying to hold the question in. I motioned her closer. She came slowly, eyes shiny, breathing fast. Listen, I said, taking her shoulders gently. Nobody is taking anyone, not without a judge hearing all of us. And I'm not letting you go anywhere you don't feel safe. Her face crumpled. Dad, she whispered shakily, I don't want to live with Grandma, or with Mom. I want here. I exhaled, long and uneven. You're not going anywhere, I whispered back. You promise? I promise. And it wasn't a shaky alcoholic's promise. It wasn't a maybe. It wasn't a hope. It was the truest thing I'd ever said. Raphael stood in the doorway, watching us quietly, nodding once. Okay, he said softly. Now we fight. Part 3. The first battle begins. I found my attorney the same way I found everything in that season of my life, by asking Raphael first. He pointed his thumb toward the wall separating our apartments. 4 units down, he said. Apartment C11, woman named Marisol Vega, family law, sharp as a nail in the shoe. Is she any good? I asked. Raphael snorted. She once made a grown man confess to hiding assets just by raising one eyebrow. Go. So I went. The attorney who didn't blink. Marisol Vega was maybe 5'2", mid-40s, glasses hanging from a chain, and vibes of someone who'd been disappointed by adults her entire career. Her office was in her living room. Stacks of folders, a laptop, and a mug that said, I do not negotiate with fools. She looked me over the way mechanics look at a car that's making a sound you can't describe. You're the father? She asked. Yes. You work? Yes. You sober? Yes, 3 years. She typed without looking at the keyboard. You got proof? I slid a folder across the table. AA records, employer letters, receipts, everything Raphael convinced me to hold on to. She nodded once. Good, she said. Mothers often win, but not by default. Not when they walk out. Not when Dad steps up. She tapped the custody petition Lily had filed. This, she added, flicking the paper like it offended her personally, is weak. My heart eased half a notch. Here's what we do, she continued. You're not reacting emotionally. You're building a case, a clean, factual, organized case. That became the theme of my life. Organize, document, protect. I left her apartment with a binder she'd created for me, color-coded, blue for school notes, green for medical, yellow for schedules, red for anything from lily black for court documents. It felt like carrying the blueprint to a house I was trying to hold together with my bare hands. But Lily didn't stay quiet. She called a week later, not to apologize, not to ask how the kids were, but to test the waters. Hey, she said softly, like we were old friends. I was thinking I could pick them up Friday. Maybe take them overnight. They could use time with their mother. It was the first time she'd called herself that in months. No, I said simply. She went silent. Then her voice sharpened. You don't get to decide that, Ethan. Yes, I said. I do. Until the judge tells me otherwise. She made a sound like a laugh, but without humor. You're becoming someone I don't even recognize. I could say the same. That hit. She inhaled through her nose, a sharp, angry breath. You think you're a hero because you learned to pack lunches? She hissed. You think raising kids is just keeping them alive? You think they don't need a mother? Grace doesn't want to see you yet, I said quietly. Silence. Then, she told you that? She's scared. Of me? Yes. A sharp inhale, then she hung up. I leaned my forehead against the cabinet, breathing slow, steady, the way Raphael had taught me. The kids were coloring at the table in the next room, Noah humming. Grace tracing letters with too much pressure. Our little life, fragile and warm. I wasn't letting anyone drag it back into chaos. Not again. The first court date. The courthouse looked like every courthouse I'd ever driven past. Gray, tall, smelling like old air and cold coffee. Grace held my hand. Hard Noah stayed with Raphael in the hallway. He didn't want the boy hearing anything he shouldn't. Lily walked in 10 minutes late. She looked better than when I last saw her. Hair brushed, clothes clean, face calm. But the calm was thin, stretched tight. She didn't look at me. She went straight to her attorney, who, to my surprise, wasn't her mother's lawyer. It was a young man, maybe 30, hair too perfect, voice too smooth. Marisol leaned close to me. "That's good," she whispered. "He looks like he learned law from motivational podcasts." The judge entered. Everyone stood. The world shifted into slow motion. Names, dates, terms I didn't know, requests I didn't understand. But then the judge looked directly at me. "Mr. Cole," she said, "have you been the sole caregiver since Ms. Ramirez left the home?" "Yes, Your Honor." "Do the children attend school and medical appointments consistently?" "Yes." "Are they housed, fed, and safe?" "Yes." She nodded, writing something. Then she turned to Lily. "Ms. Ramirez, when did you last live with your children?" Lily swallowed. 4 months ago, she whispered. "And why did you leave?" "My mental health was... I needed..." She looked at her lawyer, desperate for a script. He stayed silent. "Ms. Ramirez," the judge said gently, "abandonment is a heavy word, but in these early hearings, what matters is stability, not blame. Stability." That word again, stability. The one thing I had managed to build like a fragile tower. The judge continued, "Given the children's current well-being under their father's care, I see no grounds to disrupt their routine. I am granting temporary primary custody to Mr. Cole. Ms. Ramirez may have supervised visitation once weekly at the family center." Lily gasped, "Supervised, Your Honor?" But the judge held up a hand. "This is not a punishment, it's a safety measure until we gather more information." Grace squeezed my arm. Hard. I didn't look at Lily, couldn't. The gavel dropped. Temporary custody. Mine. But the hardest part hadn't even begun. When Noah asked the question the day after court, we sat on the living room floor, building a train track with mismatched pieces Raphael had found at a garage sale. Noah put a tiny wooden bridge in the wrong place, blocking the loop. I moved it gently. "Like this, buddy, so the train can keep going." He nodded, then asked it so casually he almost broke me. "Is Mommy coming home now?" Not angry, not scared, just curious. I swallowed. "No," I said softly, "not yet." "Why?" "She needs to get better." He frowned, processing. Did I do something wrong? My chest tightened so fast it hurt. "No," I said immediately. "No, listen to me." I turned him toward me and touched his little cheeks with both hands. "You did nothing wrong. You hear me? Nothing." His eyes were wide and sincere. Then why did she leave? I blinked hard. "She was sad," I said finally. "Too sad. And sometimes grown-ups make bad choices when they're hurting, but that's not because of you." He leaned into me, small and trusting. "You didn't leave," he whispered into my shirt. I closed my eyes. "No," I said. "I didn't." But Grace saw more than I wanted her to. She was quiet that night. Too quiet. After I tucked Noah in bed, I found her sitting at the table with her homework untouched. "Want help?" I asked. She shook her head. "Dad?" "Yeah?" She hesitated. "Am I supposed to forgive her?" I exhaled slowly. "You're not supposed to feel anything," I said. "Feel what you feel. That's enough." "What do you feel?" she asked softly. I sat down. "I feel angry," I admitted. "And sad. And tired. But mostly, I feel protective." She nodded, as if recognizing that in herself, too. She picked at the edge of her notebook. "What if she gets us back?" she whispered. I looked her straight in the eyes. "That's not happening," I said firmly. "And if she tries, I will fight, every day, every hour." Her chin trembled. "Promise?" Promise. She slid into my arms, clinging tighter than she had in years. Raphael watched from the doorway. He didn't say a word. He didn't need to. Part 4. The day everything cracked. 2 weeks later, it was time for Lily's first supervised visit. I didn't tell the kids until the morning of. Marisol told me that was the right move. Less time for them to stew in fear. Noah took it well. Grace went stone cold, quiet. The room with too many colors. The family center was painted like someone tried to convince children that life was always cheerful. Bright rugs, plastic bins, crayons everywhere. But the air felt wrong, too sterile, too staged. A woman named Teresa handled supervision. Late 50s, soft-spoken, the kind of eyes that had seen every complicated family dynamic twice. Visits last 1 hour, she told us. You may stay within sight but not participate. Lily arrived 5 minutes late, clutching a paper bag of snacks like a peace offering. She looked healthier but still fragile underneath. Her hands shook slightly as she waved, "Hi, babies." Grace didn't move. Noah took half a step toward her, then looked at me. I nodded. He went. Grace stayed by my side, fingers hooked into the fabric of my sleeve. Lily's smile flickered at that. "Hi, sweet girl," she said. Grace stared, blank. Teresa had them sit at a small round table with coloring sheets. I stood near a bookshelf, pretending to look at puzzles while watching every second. The tension. No child should feel. Lily tried. I'll give her that. She asked them questions. How's school? You making new friends? Do you miss mommy? But the last one, that one hit like a hammer. Grace stiffened. Noah looked confused. Then Lily reached out, touching Grace's hair. You still smell just like when you were little, she whispered. Grace recoiled instantly, standing up so fast her chair screeched. The whole room froze. No, Grace said sharply. Don't touch me. Lily's face crumpled. Sweetheart, I'm your mother. No, you're not. The words sliced through the room. Teresa intervened quietly, redirecting. Let's take a break, she suggested. How about drawing? But Lily wasn't listening. Her eyes were locked on me now. You poisoned her, she said in a low voice. You turned her against me. I stepped forward, slow, controlled. No, I said softly. You leaving did that. Teresa raised her hand between us. Parents do not engage directly, she reminded. But the crack was already there, and it widened fast. The moment that ended the visit. Lily wiped her face, suddenly frantic. Grace, please, she begged. Please just hug me once. Just once. Grace shook her head violently. Noah began to cry. The sound echoed like something breaking. Lily panicked, reaching for both kids at once. Teresa stepped in immediately. Hands to yourself, she warned. But Lily wasn't hearing anyone anymore. I'm your mother, she shouted. You can't pretend I don't exist. Grace burst into tears and ran to me, burying her face into my stomach. Shaking Noah clung to my leg. That was it. Teresa signaled the security monitor through the window. Visit is over, she said firmly. Everyone take a breath, let's separate. Lily tried to approach again, tears streaming, but 2 staff members gently blocked her path. I carried both kids out, one on each arm, even though they were getting too big for it. Outside, the cold air hit like a slap. Noah sobbed into my shoulder. Grace whispered, take us home, please. I nodded and buckled them into the car, hands shaking. As I got into the driver's seat, I saw Lily through the glass window, collapsed in a chair, head in her hands, shoulders shaking, broken. But I couldn't go to her. Not anymore. My job wasn't to save her. My job was to save them. The night I fell apart after the kids finally slept, exhausted from crying, I sat on the kitchen floor with the lights off. It hit me all at once. All the fear, all the guilt, all the pressure, all the, I hope I'm doing the right thing. For the first time since she left, I broke. Not loud, not dramatic, just quiet tears and shaking hands. I didn't hear Raphael come in. He saw me, stopped, then sat down beside me without a word. He opened a beer for himself, slid a bottle of water toward me, and waited. After a minute, he said, "You held the line today." "I don't feel like I did," I whispered. "That's because good parents get hurt doing the right thing. Comes with the territory." I wiped my face. "What if she gets better? What if the court gives her another chance?" "They might," he said. "Life's unfair like that." My chest tightened. "But let me tell you something," he added. "You show up every day. You do the work. Judges see that. Kids feel that. And women like Lily—" He shook his head, choosing his words carefully. "They heal slow and sometimes never in the places they broke." We sat there for a long time. Two men on a kitchen floor at midnight surrounded by toy trains and half-washed dishes. Then Raphael added softer, "You're not alone, hijo. Not anymore." I closed my eyes and breathed. For the first time that day, breathing didn't hurt, but the consequences came fast. The next morning, an email from Lily's lawyer arrived, a long one, accusing me of alienation, interference, emotional manipulation, violating the spirit of reunification. Marisol read it, rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. "This is noise," she said, "weak noise." But then she tapped the bottom of the email. "They're requesting an emergency hearing." My stomach dropped. For what? She looked up at me. To remove supervised visitation and possibly modify custody. The room spun. Grace walked into the kitchen at that exact moment holding her stuffed panda. "Dad, can we have pancakes?" she asked. Her voice was soft, hopeful, and I realized I didn't have the luxury of falling apart anymore. Not today, not tomorrow, not until this was over. Part 5. The Emergency Hearing. The hearing was set for Thursday morning. 3 days' notice, barely enough time to breathe. Marisol handled the filings. Raphael arranged childcare so the kids wouldn't have to step foot inside a courthouse again. I ironed a shirt I hadn't worn since job interviews years ago, back when my life was simple enough to worry about things like ironing. That morning, Grace hugged my leg extra long. "Are you gonna be okay?" she whispered. "Yeah, sweetheart," I said, brushing her hair back. "I'll be okay." But the truth? I hadn't been okay in months. The courtroom with no air. The family court was cold, not the temperature, but the atmosphere. People sat in rows, holding broken marriages and broken hopes in their hands like paperwork. Lily's lawyer looked polished. Too polished. Lily looked smaller than I remembered from the visitation room, eyes swollen from crying. Hands clasped tight like she was trying to keep herself from drifting apart. Marisol sat beside me, posture straight, folders perfectly organized. Judge Ramirez entered. Calm, but sharp. The kind of judge who could see lies the way normal people see colors. The accusations. Lily's lawyer began with a speech that sounded rehearsed. "Your Honor, my client has made significant progress in her recovery. She is stable. She is present. She wishes to rebuild her relationship with her children. However, the father has created an environment of emotional alienation. He encourages fear. He prevents natural bonding. He positions himself as the sole safe parent." I listened in silence, jaw tight. Alienation, fear, manipulation. That wasn't just wrong. It was insulting. I raised these kids alone, not out of choice, but necessity. When her lawyer finished, he looked satisfied, like he'd laid down a winning hand. He hadn't. My turn. The judge turned to me. "Mr. Carter, do you wish to respond?" I stood. "Your Honor, my daughter had a panic attack during the visit." My voice wavered, just once. "She begged me not to leave her alone. She cried for hours after. We both did." I took a breath. I am not keeping their mother away. I am honoring what my children feel, what they remember, what they lived through. I pulled out a small drawing, Grace's drawing, the one of our house, me, her, and Noah. Just us, no mother in sight. "She's 7, I said. She shouldn't have to choose sides. She shouldn't be forced to heal faster than the adult who hurt her. Marisol handed me the binder with updates from the school counselor. I placed it on the judge's bench. And this, I added softly, is not alienation. It's trauma. The room went still. The witness. No one expected. The judge looked thoughtful, then she asked something that caught everyone off guard. Is the maternal grandmother present? Lily's mother, Mrs. Ramirez, stood slowly from the back row. I hadn't even realized she was there. The judge invited her to speak. She walked to the stand, trembling. My daughter. She was not well, she admitted. For years. Lily closed her eyes. Mrs. Ramirez continued. She left those children, not him. He never stopped bringing them to see us. He never spoke badly about her, not once. My heart tightened. Then she looked at Lily, sorrow in her eyes. Baby, you're healing, but you're not ready. Lily's face crumpled. Her lawyer looked like someone had ripped up his script. The judge's decision. Judge Ramirez folded her hands. Here is the court's ruling. The tension scraped against my bones. Supervised visitation will continue, but reduced to once every 2 weeks. I exhaled, relieved. But then, and all contact will remain under the supervision of the family center. No private communication, no texting, no unscheduled pop-ins. Lily wiped her face but nodded. Then the judge turned to me. Mr. Carter, it is clear you have been carrying an immense weight. This court recommends you enroll in a support program for single fathers. Strength does not mean isolation. I swallowed hard. Yes, Your Honor. Hearing ended, but nothing felt over. The parking lot breakdown. I found Lily sitting on a low concrete divider outside the courthouse. She didn't look angry, just defeated. Ethan, she said quietly, I didn't know how to come back. I still don't. I know, I said. I can't fix you, but I'm not your enemy. She nodded slowly. I'm trying, she whispered. I really am. I hope you keep trying, I said, for their sake, not for mine. We stood there a moment, two people who once built a life together, now standing among the ruins. Then she said something that caught me off balance. You're a better father than I ever was a mother. I didn't know how to answer that, so I didn't. Back home, and a surprise. Waiting when Raphael brought the kids home, Grace ran straight into my arms. Daddy, Daddy, Daddy! She hugged me tight like she needed to make sure I hadn't disappeared. Noah hugged my leg. Did you beat the court? He asked. I smiled softly. It wasn't a battle, buddy, but yes, we did okay. Then Raphael stepped forward, lowering his voice. There was someone at your door earlier. Who? He handed me a small envelope. Inside was a letter, handwritten, neat, careful, not Lily. A name signed at the bottom, Evan Brooks, from your father's support group. I hadn't told Raphael I signed up, but someone had reached out already. It felt like the universe was saying, you're not done yet, and you're not alone. Part 6. The Support Group. The support group met in the basement of a Methodist church, the kind of room that smelled like weak coffee and paper cups. 7 metal chairs in a circle, a table with stale cookies, a sign taped to the door, Single Fathers, 6 p.m. No judgment, no apologies. I walked in late, pulse still stuck in courtroom mode. A man with sandy hair and a worn denim jacket waved me over. You must be Ethan, he said. I'm Evan. He was the one who wrote the letter. The handwriting alone had told me he wasn't the kind of man to waste words. The others introduced themselves quickly. Truck driver, barber, accountant, line cook, a guy who worked at a call center overnight, different lives. Same story in their eyes. Loss, fear, a survival mode that never turned off. Evan's turn. The group leader nodded toward Evan. You want to start tonight? He rubbed his palms on his jeans and took a breath. My daughter's 8, he said. Her mom left 2 years ago, then came back, then left again. The room went still. Evan continued, voice steady but thin. Last time she came back, she told our daughter she was taking her to Disney, bought the girl a princess hoodie and everything, got her hopes up. He swallowed. Then she disappeared for 3 months. He looked down at his hands. You know what that does to a kid? Makes them stop believing promises even from you. I felt something in my chest shift, like someone had put words to a bruise I'd been carrying too long. Evan looked at me then. You're not the only one trying to heal a wound you didn't cause. I didn't say anything. Didn't trust my voice yet. My turn. When it was my turn to speak, I kept it simple. My kids, they're scared of losing me. That's the truth. I'm scared too. I keep thinking if I stop moving, something will fall apart. Some men nodded. One said quietly, "Yeah, that's how it starts." And just like that, I wasn't isolated anymore. I was part of a circle full of men who understood the grind, the guilt, the exhaustion of being the only adult holding the world upright after the meeting. A warning. As we walked to the parking lot, Evan stopped me. "She's not done," he said. I frowned. "Who?" "Your ex. Mothers who disappear always come back twice." He wasn't being cruel. He was being honest. Then he added something I didn't expect. But the second time isn't always for the right reasons. I didn't know what to make of that, but I felt it like a chill. The second supervised visit. 2 weeks later, we walked into the same family center room. Same rug tiles, same low shelves, same fake smiling clock on the wall. But this time, Grace stepped behind me before Kendall even entered. She whispered, "I don't want her to hug me." "I know," I said. "You won't have to." Kendall came in looking different, composed, clean hoodie, hair brushed, eyes clearer. She brought a craft kit, stickers, markers, little foam shapes. She sat down slowly. "Hi, sweet girl," she whispered. Grace didn't answer. Noah didn't move. For a while, everyone just sat there in a strange, heavy quiet. Finally, Kendall spoke again, forcing a smile that trembled at the edges. "I made something for you." She held out a bracelet with blue beads. Grace stared at it, then said quietly, "I don't wear bracelets." Her voice wasn't rude, just final. Kendall lowered her hand. Her eyes watered, but she kept still. "Okay, that's okay." Kim, the staff supervisor, gave me a subtle nod. Grace wasn't acting out. She was protecting herself. The moment Grace finally speaks, 20 minutes in, Grace whispered something. Small, barely audible. "Daddy?" "Yes, baby?" Her eyes stayed on the table. "She didn't come for me," she said. "She came because she feels bad." I blinked, throat tight. Even Kendall froze. Grace continued, voice tiny but steady. "And I don't want to fix her feelings." Kendall's face folded, like someone punched through her chest. She whispered, "Grace, I'm so sorry." But Grace turned her face away. No anger, no drama, just truth. The kind that changes the room. After the visit, on the drive home, Grace watched the raindrops slide down the window. "Daddy?" she asked. "Yes? Are we going to be okay?" I reached back and squeezed her hand gently. "We already are." She didn't say anything else. She didn't need to. Her grip said everything. The dream. Ethan didn't know he had. That night, after the kids fell asleep, I sat alone in the kitchen. Bills spread out, court paperwork stacked neatly, the house finally quiet. And for the first time in months, the silence didn't feel dangerous. It felt open, a space where something new could start. Then my phone buzzed. A number I recognized. Evan. I almost didn't answer, but I did. "You still looking for more stable work?" he asked. "Because I know someone hiring, and they pay real money. Benefits too." I hesitated. "What kind of job?" He chuckled. "A job that doesn't burn you out before your kids graduate." I leaned back in the chair. For the first time in a long time, I felt something unfamiliar. Possibility. The future didn't feel like a threat anymore. It felt like a door, and maybe, finally, I was ready to turn the handle. Part 7. A different kind of fight. Evan's real job with real money turned out to be at the city transit yard, not glamorous, not a dream, but steady. Benefits. Overtime that didn't kill you. A supervisor who cared more about whether buses started on cold mornings than about office politics. Maintenance lead, Evan said. You already fix elevators. This is just taller, uglier machines with more angry people if they break. The hours were earlier. Brutal at first 4:30 a.m. alarm. Coffee, boots, kiss Grace's forehead in the dark. Tuck Noah back in when he wandered half asleep down the hallway. I'd be at the yard by 5:15, headlamp on, hands in grease before most of the city remembered its own name. By 2 p.m., I was done, just in time for school pickup, homework, dinner, court paperwork, life. I took the job. Not because I wanted to move up, because I wanted my kids to know what it felt like to have someone home every evening who wasn't too drunk or too tired to listen. Raphael approved. Early mornings keep men honest, he said, stirring beans on the stove. No time for nonsense. He wasn't wrong. The weight I didn't see coming for a while, things got almost normal. Grace's grades climbed out of the crater they'd fallen into. Her teacher emailed, "She's quieter than the other kids, but she's focused, thoughtful, protective of her brother in a way that's remarkable." Noah started drawing buses instead of monsters. "Daddy fixes the big ones," he told anyone who asked, "so they don't break when old people are on them." Raphael's Thursday-Sunday dinners turned into something else, not lessons anymore, just life. Some nights he'd talk about his daughters, now grown. "Didn't do it all right," he said, watching Noah glue macaroni onto cardboard. "But I showed up. That buys you more than any apology." I remember thinking, maybe this is it. Maybe the worst is behind us. I was wrong. The call from the school. It was a Wednesday. I'd just finished tightening a loose panel on a bus that screamed like a banshee every time it turned left. My phone buzzed. School number. My stomach dropped automatically. That reflex never goes away when you're raising kids alone. "Mr. Cole," the counselor's voice said, "could you come in this afternoon? It's about Grace." I left work an hour early, hands still smelling like diesel and metal, mind racing. When I got there, Grace was sitting in the office, arms folded, jaw set. Her face wasn't broken. It was closed. The counselor slid a paper across the desk. "She wrote this today in class," she explained. "It came up in a writing exercise about family." It wasn't long, just a paragraph. "My family is my dad, my brother, and our neighbor Rafa. Sometimes my mom visits, but it feels like a movie, and then the credits roll and she's gone again. I don't like it when grown-ups tell me I should be happy about it. I'm not happy. I'm tired. No anger, no cursing. Just tired." The counselor cleared her throat. "She's not in trouble," she said. "But this is heavy for a 12-year-old. I looked at my daughter, my little girl who used to cry when I left for work. Now she was staring at the floor like she was already learning to live with disappointment as a roommate. "You're not broken," I told her later in the car. "You know that, right?" She shrugged. "I'm just done," she whispered, "with people telling me I'm supposed to forgive faster than they're sorry." That line? That one stayed with me. Lily's new start. A month later, Lily showed up to a supervised visit looking different, new clothes, steady eyes, hair brushed back in a way that didn't look like she'd done it in the car mirror. She didn't rush the kids, didn't push for hugs. She helped Noah build a plastic robot, watched Grace sketch quietly, asked simple questions, and actually listened to answers. When the hour ended, Grace didn't cry. She just said, "Bye," without looking at her. That was progress, in its own twisted way. Teresa, the supervisor, pulled me aside. "She's been consistent. she said. Meetings, work, tests clean, she's trying. I nodded. I wanted to be glad. I also wanted to drive my kids to another state and lock the doors. Both things were true. That's what nobody tells you about co-parenting with someone who once detonated your life. You can support their healing and still protect your boundaries. You can root for their recovery and still say no. And that balance? That's a knife edge. The letter from the court. A year went by like that. Bus yard, school, support group, supervised visits. Lily stayed sober. Raphael's limp got worse. Grace started high school. Noah lost 2 teeth and learned the exact number of dinosaur facts needed to make adults beg for mercy. Then the envelope came. Grace handed it to me after school, same as last time. Another official thing, she said. It smells like trouble. She wasn't wrong. Inside was a notice, final custody review, evaluation of long-term placement. Motion by Ms. Ramirez to expand custody and remove supervision requirement. 4 years after that note on our kitchen table. We were going back to court. For real this time. Not temporary. Final. Part 8. The day I almost lost them, and that's how we get back to the beginning. Me at 37, standing in that packed courtroom that smelled like old paper, cheap coffee, and fear. Grace in her blue hoodie. Noah with his dinosaur. Lily across the aisle, cleaner, steadier, but with eyes that still looked like they were always apologizing for something. My former mother-in-law in the front row, arms crossed, carrying enough judgment to sink a ship. Raphael sat behind me, hands folded on his cane. Evan was there too, in a clean shirt I'd never seen him wear before. Marisol reviewed her notes like she was sharpening knives made out of paper. The judge shuffled a stack of documents so thick it could have been used as a seat booster. Mr. Cole, Ms. Ramirez, she began. We are here today to determine permanent custody of Grace and Noah Cole. Permanent. That word slammed into my chest. Lily's side of the story. Her lawyer went first. This one wasn't the smooth-talking kid from the first hearing. This woman was older, sharper. She wore a navy suit and the expression of someone who didn't waste sympathy. She walked the judge through a list. Lily's sobriety, 2 years. Her stable job at a bakery. Her 1-bedroom apartment in her mother's building. Her therapy. Her parenting classes. Her consistent supervised visits. Your Honor, she said, my client made terrible mistakes. She does not deny this. But she has done the work. These children deserve a mother in their daily lives, not just in institutional rooms with staff watching. Lily sat up straighter. I watched Grace's shoulders creep toward her ears. Then her lawyer said the line I'd been bracing for. We are asking the court to grant joint custody with a gradual transition toward equal time. Equal time, half their childhood. Half their nights, their mornings, their homework, their tears, their laughs, split down the middle. Like furniture in a divorce, my turn to answer. When it was my turn, I stood. My hands didn't shake. I'd held too many wrenches and too many fevers for that. Your Honor, I said, I won't stand here and pretend I was a good husband. I wasn't. I was selfish. I drank. I left Lily alone when she needed help. She had every right to be exhausted. I felt Raphael watching me. But when she left, I continued. The kids were 8 and 3. Someone had to show up. So I did. I didn't list all the things I'd done. The laundry at 3 a.m., the buses at 5 a.m., the fevers, the nightmares, the school plays where I clapped so loud my hands hurt. I didn't need to. The judge had the records. I don't want to punish their mother, I said. I want to protect my kids. They're not an award for good behavior. They're not a trophy we pass back and forth to see who's doing better this year. I swallowed. They need stability, I added. And like it or not, I'm the stable parent. Then I did something nobody told me was allowed. I asked if Grace could speak. She's 12, I said. Old enough to be heard, even if she's not old enough to decide. There was a pause. The judge studied Grace for a long moment, then nodded. Come forward, Miss Cole, she said gently. Just tell me how things feel. No right or wrong answers. Grace's voice. My daughter walked to the front like the floor was made of glass. She didn't look at her mother. She didn't look at me. She looked at the judge. Do you love both your parents? The judge asked softly. Yes, Grace said, I do. Do you feel safe with both of them? Her throat bobbed. I feel different safe, she said. The judge tilted her head. What does that mean? Grace took a breath I recognized, the kind you take before jumping into cold water. With my dad, she said slowly, I know what the day is going to feel like, even when it's bad. He burns toast. He forgets picture day sometimes, but I know where I'm sleeping. I know who's picking me up. I know we're not going to pack everything in trash bags again. The room was silent. And with your mother? The judge asked. Grace's eyes finally flicked sideways to Lily, then back to the bench. With my mom, she whispered. I feel like I'm a test. Like if I forgive fast enough and love her hard enough, she'll stay this time. Her voice shook, and if she doesn't? Grace's chin trembled. Then it's because I didn't do good enough. My chest cracked. Lily was crying openly now. Grace wiped her own eyes with the sleeve of that blue hoodie. I don't want to feel like that anymore, she finished. I don't want to be scared of someone leaving every time they say they love me. The judge leaned forward. You understand, she said gently, that your mother is trying now? Yes, Grace said. I see that. Do you want a relationship with her? Yes, she whispered immediately. I do. How often? Grace swallowed. I don't know, she said. But I don't want to change houses all the time. I don't want to live out of a bag. I want a home. And to visit my mom. Not to live in her hope with her. That sentence did it. For me. For Raphael. For everyone in that room who'd ever tried to build a life out of somebody else's second chances. Noah's turn without taking the stand. The judge didn't put Noah on the stand. He was too young, but she did read his counselor's notes. Noah identifies the father as his primary attachment figure. He displays anxiety when routines change. He expresses fear that, if I don't behave, Daddy will disappear like Mommy did. Protective factors: present, attuned father, stable neighbor, supportive school. Present, attuned, stable. Those were not words anyone would have put next to my name 5 years earlier. Now they were the whole case. The judge's verdict family court decisions don't come with drum rolls. Just a tired judge, a stack of paper, and a voice that can rearrange your life in 2 sentences. Ms. Ramirez, she began, this court acknowledges your progress, your sobriety, your employment, your consistent visitation. All of these are significant steps. You should be proud of the work you have done. Lily nodded through tears. However, the judge continued, and my heart stopped. This court's duty is not to reward effort, it is to protect children. She turned a page. The evidence overwhelmingly shows that Mr. Cole has provided continuous, stable, day-to-day care for these children for the past 4 years. Their schooling, medical care, emotional stability, and primary attachment are rooted in his home. My knees almost gave out. I am granting Mr. Cole permanent primary physical custody, she said. Ms. Ramirez will retain joint legal custody and scheduled visitation. For the next year, visits will remain supervised, with gradual review as the children's therapists deem appropriate. She banged the gavel gently. That is the order of the court. I didn't shout, didn't pump my fist. I just exhaled. The breath I'd been holding since the night I stood in a kitchen reading a note that said, "Get help." We didn't win. We stayed together. And in our world, that's what winning looked like. After the storm, outside the courthouse, the sky looked exactly the same as when we'd walked in. People were still paying parking meters, still checking their phones, still living their regular Tuesday lives. I knelt by the car and looked my kids in the eyes. You're staying with me, I told them. Officially, permanently, no more wondering. Noah whooped so loud Raphael laughed. Grace didn't whoop. She just leaned forward, pressed her forehead to mine, and whispered, "I knew you'd fight." We drove home with the windows cracked, the radio low, and a silence that wasn't tight anymore. It was soft, like the air after heavy rain. Part 9, 4 years later. So here we are, back to where I started this story. I'm 41 now, Grace is 16, Noah is 10. Raphael's hair is whiter, his cane more permanent, his Thursdays and Sundays still non-negotiable. The bus yard promoted me, not because I'm brilliant, because I show up. Evan still runs the support group. Half the guys who come through relapse at least once. Some disappear, some come back. We clap for both, the ones who stay and the ones who try again, Lily. She never got joint custody. She did get something else, a second chance to be honest with herself. Supervised visits became unsupervised afternoon visits in public places. Sometimes she shows up, sometimes she cancels. Sometimes she sends a text that sounds like regret dressed up as logistics. The difference now? My kids know that's about her, not them. They have a baseline, they have a home, and boundaries as solid as the steel in the buses I fix. The night Grace finally let go. Last year, on her 15th birthday, Grace asked to talk on the balcony. Teenagers don't normally schedule emotional check-ins, so I said yes before she finished the sentence. We sat on old plastic chairs, listening to traffic hum, lights from other people's lives blinking in apartment windows. She forgot again, Grace said eventually. That day, Lily had missed a planned video call. No explanation, no follow-up. "She's trying," I said softly. "Habit?" Grace shook her head. "Maybe," she said, "but I don't think I am anymore." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She picked at the edge of her sleeve. "I spent so long wanting her to be different," she whispered, "wanting her to show up like you do. But she doesn't. Not really. And I'm tired of holding my breath every time she says she will." She looked at me then. "I just want to let it be what it is," she said. "Not hate her, not chase her, just let it be." I swallowed. "You don't owe anyone your hope," I said. "Not even me, not even her." She exhaled. "What if that makes me a bad daughter?" she asked. "It makes you a sane one," I answered. "A daughter who's done carrying grown-ups on her back." Her shoulders dropped. "Okay," she whispered. "Then I'm done." She didn't block her mother. Didn't scream. She just stopped waiting. There's a difference between closing your heart and closing the door. She did the second. The boy who never got left. Noah doesn't remember much of the before. He remembers flashes, boxes, raised voices, the smell of Darlene's house, the way my eyes looked when I first drove them away at dawn. But his story is different. It's mostly bus grease, burnt pancakes, Raphael's slow clap when he first learned to ride a bike. One night when he was 9, he crawled into my bed after a nightmare. "You left?" he mumbled, half asleep. "Never," I said, pulling him closer. His hand found my shirt, fingers curling into the fabric. "I know," he whispered. He fell back asleep in seconds. I stayed awake another hour, not from fear, from gratitude. Raphael's last lesson. Raphael's heart finally caught up to his miles. The first time it put him in the hospital, he joked about the food. "This is what kills people," he grumbled, poking at a tray of something that claimed to be chicken. But the second time, he didn't joke. I sat beside his bed, the green thermos on the table like always. "You did it," he said, voice softer than I liked. "You got them across the bridge." "You helped," I said. He smirked. "Yeah, but you carried the heavy end." I swallowed. "Don't do that," I said. "Don't talk like—" "Hee-ho," he cut in gently. "Listen." He waited until I looked at him. "You're not that man reading a note in an empty kitchen anymore," he said. "You're not who she left. You're who they run to." My throat burned. He closed his eyes briefly, then added, "Don't waste time proving that to people who only come around to judge your parents, her mother, the world. It doesn't matter." He squeezed my hand. "Your kids are your report card," he whispered, "and they pass." He made it home that time. He might not make it the next. But his voice lives in my kitchen now, in every packed lunch, in every early alarm, in every boundary I hold line tight and unflinching. Why I'm telling you this? So why am I sitting here years later telling strangers on the internet about custody hearings and notes on kitchen tables? Because some of you are where I was, staring at a letter you wish you could unread, listening to a parent or an ex or even your own thoughts tell you you're the screw-up, the problem, the reason your kids are better off without you. And I'm here to tell you, that's a lie. Your past matters. Your mistakes matter. But more than anything, your pattern matters. Do you show up? Do you keep the fridge humming, the lights on, the hugs real, the apologies honest? Then you're not the villain. You're the baseline, the steady, the one the kids will look back on and say, he didn't always get it right. But he was there. That's worth more than every speech, every post, every "I promise I'll change" that never turns into anything. Before we end, let me ask you something. Would you draw hard boundaries with judging family and unreliable exes to protect your kid, even if everyone called you cold for it? Or would you keep the door open wider than is safe, just so nobody could say you were unfair? Tell me in the comments. Your story might help someone else draw their line. And if any part of this hit something in you, if you saw yourself in the late-night Google searches, the kitchen floor breakdowns, the quiet victories, do me one favor. Tap subscribe. It's 1 second for you. And for me, a single dad still figuring it out, it means this story reaches one more person who needs to hear. You're not alone. You're not your worst day. And sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is stay.